I find traditional migrant fishermen fascinating. My fascination began with the stories my grandfather told me when I was growing up. In those stories, fishermen were heroes because they conquered the forces of nature at sea and returned home with plenty of fish to feed their families. They were also revered because they had the ability to communicate with water spirits and often visited them in the depths of the sea. On their return, they brought back several gifts, including the unique songs and dance steps that are still displayed at cultural events in my state. I'm Enato Isukul, and I'm a filmmaker. I come from Bayelsa State, located in the southern part of Nigeria. My state, which has a lot of oil and gas reserves, is largely riverine, crisscrossed by several streams, creeks, and tributaries that empty into the Atlantic Ocean. So it's no surprise that my grandfather was a fisherman and that fishing is a source of livelihood for many living in the rural areas. I've always longed to experience the world of the migrant fisherman, but I never did because I was born and raised in the city. However, my curiosity about fishermen heightened after my grandfather's death. I felt a strong need to know these people I had fantasized about and to see how their world contrasts with mine. Lucky for me this year, one of my cousins introduced me to Mr. Augustine Ebong, a migrant fisherman who gladly invited me to his fishing camp situated miles away from Yenagoa, the capital city where I reside. To get to his fishing camp, Mr. Ebong advised that I come on a big traditional cargo boat called the Titanic Love Boat. It's my first time on this kind of boat used primarily for transporting goods to and from the villages. The Titanic Love Boat offers a slow, steady, pleasurable ride. With no windows, you get a wide view of the lovely scenery. And if you're tired, there is adequate room to lie down and sleep. So I'm curious to know how it got its name.
We call it the Titanic Love Boat because you can sleep, you can walk, even if you want to win, you can go and win.
You and me to be alive to join this love boat is the thing of joy. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah.
Where you will toilet is here, where you will eat is here, even there are places that you will even dance. So that we call it love boat.
After 2 hours, we finally reach our destination. Fishing camps have no docks because they are not traditional villages. And so we had to use a canoe to bring us ashore. At arrival, I'm surprised to find that only 3 people reside in this fishing camp called Kagokiri. Mr. Ebong, my host, and his neighbors, Mr. Silas Ikine and Mama Tombra. After settling in, I get to meet Mr. Ebong's close friend and colleague, Chief Agwa.
My age, I don't reach 75.
75?
65, I mean to say 65.
Okay, so since you were 15 till now you're 65, now this fishing you they do?
Yeah.
Yes,
The day runs fast, and when it's time to retire to bed, Mama Tombra insists that I sleep in her home. The next morning, my host, who's been a migrant fisherman for 21 years, tells me he prefers to fish with hooks and shows me how he attaches the hooks to strings. He tells me we need to wait a few hours for the tide to recede before we can go out to get bait. While we wait, I ask him a few questions, including why he chose to become a fisherman.
I ended my school far back 82 with 6 papers. I got to sea with 4 years. When I was at home, there was a conjunction with the winds and wizards. The view of the villagers' activities. It resulted me to be a fisherman.
When the tide recedes, we head for the mangrove swamp. On our way, I am told that there are 5 other fishing camps along this river called Kagokiri, and that fishing camps are named after the first person who resides there.
We are now in the mangrove. We walk with mangrove. This is my biro. This is my biro. This is the book. This is my book.
Mr. Bong says that I need to look for holes in the ground because that's where the baits hide.
Then we pin.
So this is the fish bait.
Okay, see there, yeah? Catch it now. You have any of them inside? You see it?
We can now see how hard a traditional fisherman needs to work to be able to get bait for the fish.
He bites, so.
You don't bite?
Yeah, he bites.
We're waiting for the fisherman to join us, and then we'll be going to the point where he will be using the bait for the hooks.
If for hook, balance it. Should engage the current of the balance with the current of the water.
This fishing method is not as easy as it looks. You need to ensure that the crab is still alive after it's been attached to a hook. This is because fish are repelled by the scent of a dead crab, but are attracted to the scent of a live crab.
What is biting now?
It's biting, but the old like this. Look, it's not biting. Look.
Once you finish this one, you're done.
After spending about 3 hours laying the hooks, we head home.
We can now walk on dry land to where we're staying. But in another few hours, all this area will be covered with water.
Mama Tombra, who fished as a younger woman, runs the only store in this area. She says she's lived here since 1984 and now calls this place home. Sitting in her store, I watch as a number of women and children come to buy food, toiletries, and other items they need. However, this lady, Mrs. Cecilia Enoch, surprisingly buys some acrylic, and I'm eager to know why.
This place and I manage you. I go cut firewood now, axe now you cut. The place you cut, you take put time, you don't done. So there means I never use it.
It's been a long day, and we all retired to bed early. It's 6 a.m. in the morning, and we're already heading out to retrieve the hooks.
I'm not happy. Let me say 15 years ago, when we are doing all this, I should have get enough fish in my boat now. But as I now, presently, nothing. No big chef. Money pay our children's school fees. They go borrow with interest. They like to charge us 1,000. So it's very difficult for us to return the some with even the good pricing because of borrowing. You see, that's why our children, many of our children, cannot even meet up for education. Nothing take forever because of hardship of life. That's why they don't fit endure. How should they endure? That's the reason. That's why they join militant, Bongri, and Sipare. This one is over 600.
600 hooks, and we have only got, as at now, we have got only one fish.
I'm not the cause.
No.
Not the water. The water is the cause.
The bad river.
Yes, bad river is the cause.
After 3 hours, we finally get to the end of the hook line, dashing my expectations that would catch a lot of fish. And so we return back to the camp with a basket full of strings and dead crabs. Before he leaves for his place, Chief Agua, who is more vocal than my host, explains why the rivers are bad and why there is no fish.
See, look the oil in top of the water, and you see the angala, the mangrove. It's just they die, they fall. No way a fish they go hold shop. When they go put net for corner, where you go get fish not day. Oil when they come cost where come float like this. Nah, people then they do am now. Illegal oil company. People wait there for a fishing camp. Now they suffer. Not be saying a joke. We die hungry.
Later in the day, Mr. Ebong gets out of his sober mood caused by our poor catch. He shows me how he uses the dead crabs and some plastic containers to get another type of bait.
Water for me. Yeah.
This time, it's the mud skipper. While doing this, he makes an interesting sound with his lips. Why do you have to make that sound?
That when they wanted to eat, they have to call each other. That is the reason sound comes. And we notice from them before we press the trumpet.
Mr. Ebong says mud skippers have the ability to live for days out of water, so they will stay alive until he goes fishing tomorrow. Life in the fishing camp is so different from life in the city. Here there is no electricity, no schools, no hospitals, and water does not run from taps. To get network signals on our phones, they have to hang at a particular spot. Stronger signals are got from climbing up a tree, but these signals last for only a few minutes. Besides this, Kagokiri is a lovely and serene place, although it has now lost its purity to the side effects of civilization. It's my last day here, and other fishermen from neighboring camps come to thank me for visiting. They are glad I have come to see their desperate situation firsthand. They want me to tell their story and to ask our government to provide them with basic amenities, particularly schools for their children, since many of them have made these camps their permanent homes. On the day of my departure, Mama Tombra gives me a bottle of acrylic as a parting gift, saying it's the only thing that she has that I'll need outside the camp. I am touched by her kindness. I have enjoyed my stay with these wonderful and resilient souls. But I leave here very sad, realizing that the devastating effects of oil pollution on our rivers and even in the air we breathe is worse than I could have ever imagined. My fantasies have been shattered by reality. The amazing stories my grandfather told me does not hold for these migrant fishermen who, with each passing day, are losing their only means of livelihood. It is obvious that this traditional way of fishing will soon be extinct, as boatloads of fish have now been replaced with hooks, strings, and empty nets.